Stop grading then.
All right, you guys are recording.
Okay, let's call this meeting to order. It is 6:01. Finance Committee on November 16th, I believe. Yes.
Legislative committee.
Legislative meeting on November 16th. There we go. In attendance is Mayor Hughes, Councilperson Wolf, Council President Shrimp, Councilperson Mark Berger, Chair of the Committee, and Eric Fisher, Village Planner type guy. So real quick, just to touch base on old business sidewalks, has anyone given any negative, or can we finally take that off the table and pass it? Or did we pass that last week?
No, you didn't pass that. That's held up. I was waiting for Mike to get back. I need him to confirm a couple of things in the language. You know, it's always good to have the civil review a couple of things. Once MI got me the actual exhibit that EMH&T provided, I just want him to verify what EMH&T did, and then the language matches up, and we should be good. So,
Awesome, perfect.
we'll get that
Then
done.
we will push that back to the next one and see about getting it unstuck. So then the only thing I have on the agenda for tonight is the noise ordinance. Other than perhaps we'll review the legislation for this evening. Did everyone get the little Word document I sent out with some notes on it?
Yep.
Yes, I did.
Okay, so of course the things with anything in black, I just cut and pasted from various different places. Ordinances, the things in red were my questions.
Yes.
It seems like all of them start with creating or causing the creation of noise such as to disturb or disrupt the peace and quiet of any reasonable person of normal sensitivity, included but not limited to, okay, so that starts as our starting language. Is everyone okay with how that is said?
Mhm. Yes.
Okay, you know what?
Look at you
Oh,
sharing a document.
did that just pop up? Good, because on mine it's not there, but on where it's shared, it's still there. Okay. Emission of sound in such a manner was plainly audible a distance of 50 feet from the building, structure, vehicle, equipment, machinery, animal, or fowl, from which the sound is emulating. 50 foot, what do we think, guys? Too close, too far?
I would go 75 feet just from my own sort of sense of distance. 50 feet is awfully close. 50 feet is like a third of the lots in the village, I think, have a 50-foot frontage. So that would be like, you know,
You can hear your neighbors.
not very far at all.
Okay,
yeah.
I'm going to change it to 75 as well.
If I may, the only concern I have on the 50 foot is that you're looking at it from a front of structure standpoint, but obviously you have neighbors on either side from a side lot, from a side lot standpoint. And in a lot of cases, these are not that far apart. So the only thing I'd point out from a consideration standpoint is, can the neighbor hear it from internally in their home? And that's a different question, right? Because that would clearly be disturbing me if I wanted to sleep for work and I've got people having a party next door to me, especially if they're inside and the noise is emanating from one structure to the other, interior to interior. That's a problem, right?
Yeah.
Maybe I can hear 50 feet. Maybe I can't hear from 75 feet. 50 foot gets me to the right of way. No one cares if the asphalt can hear me or not, right? I mean, that's my only point.
Right.
The issue is whether I'm disturbing my neighbors to the left or right of me enough that they can't enjoy the quiet peace and, their quiet enjoyment of their home. So I want to point out.
Okay, that makes sense. Could we add something to that says like while on the outside of the home?
I would say, if you respond that way, I would say perhaps there's a way to handle it to where I can hear if I can hear it interior to my home, especially if I'm an adjacent neighbor, if I can hear it interior to my home, that's where we get into the questionable thing. It's disturbing me while I'm inside of my home. Maybe there's a way to find some
So from an enforcement perspective, then you're going to have people inviting officers
Correct.
into their home to
Correct.
witness that.
Correct.
I
That's up to the homeowner. quite frankly.
That'd take a whole lot of noise before I'd invite, and I don't even got nothing wrong going on in my house, but it'd take a whole lot of noise before I'm inviting a cop into my house.
That's the bar. And I would leave it as 2 points here. I would say 70, if you want to leave it outside, an outside range, I would say leave it at 75 feet, right? And I would give the adjacent homeowner the option of, I mean, if it's bugging me and I can't sleep, I'm going to invite an officer into my home and say, dude, listen to this, So that's just kind of my point. You can do it 2 ways here. You can do it in or.
Well, so here's my thinking in that is that from the center of my house or from the furthest, what direction is that? That is
You would be a
east
north or
end
south,
of my
right?
house.
Or even a
Well,
west.
because my house runs east-west, right?
Yep.
So from
Yep.
the furthest western edge of my house, it is less than 50 feet, I believe, to the center of the neighbor on that side's house,
Correct.
right? So even if you said 50 feet, I don't know. I guess I think that because of a reasonableness standard, I don't know that the distance matters that much. It's just a cutoff of where we have to start worrying about what is reasonable.
Right.
Diane, you look like you had something to say there.
Yeah, I think if I understand what Brian is saying, I would agree. I would just take that bullet point out altogether. You've already made it ambiguous. In the first dot, you'd say, it seems like this, any reasonable person or of normal sensitivity. So you're not defining reasonable and you're not defining normal sensitivity. So you've already got vagueness there. I think you can eliminate the footage. And you're going to have the police officer would have to say, I think your expectation is unreasonable. Baby's crying, the window's open, your kitchen window is right next to your neighbor, and you're going to hear the baby cry. And a reasonable person would understand that and let that go. I mean, it's going to have to be, if someone calls on something like that, it would have to be up to the police officer if they felt it fell under the normal sensitivity of a reasonable person. If you're going to leave those 2 in there, which I guess you'd have to leave something in there.
And I don't have a problem with that. And I put both of those down. If you can, well, I'm sharing it so you guys can see me typing the corrections in blue here. Yeah, I'm fine with not putting a distance there as well.
I know I'm gonna get in trouble for saying this, but
That's all right.
because I
Go
know
ahead.
people sleep during the day as well, because but I think the majority of the people don't. I like the nighttime. That to me is when you tend to see the issues. You have the wild, crazy parties that are going on at midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. And that to me is where you shouldn't have loud blaring music, and I'm all for that. So I think that's typically the issue that we see. If you look at our Facebook post, most people don't complain about the loud parties at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. They're concerned about the night ones. So I think that right there is really going to hit the majority of what we're looking for. I mean, again, if you've got a dog that's outside barking all day long, I think that's the other thing that we see people complain about. I would think that those would be the 2 main things that, if I had to say that's what gets people going, it would be the barking animals all day or a lot of the day, and then the loud parties at night.
I would agree with that.
Right.
All right, let's just take a quick look at exemptions then, and then we'll get to that nighttime, daytime thing. Sound emitting from scheduled events conducted sponsors are permitted by the city or schools. There's your middle school football games.
Perfect.
Construction operations between 7 and 9. We want 7 to 7, don't we?
We do.
Well,
Or
I'm not sure, because this is my question. I mean,
Well,
what-
there's a disclaimer in there, Tiffany, for if it's if it's approved by city council. Well, we'd be changing the city to village. But you would have it looks like further on, you would have the opportunity to
Actually, no.
override the timeframes.
And actually, I'm not in disagreement. Never mind. I'm really not in disagreement with it with 9 p.m. because again, you're not saying construction can't operate. You're saying construction noise can't operate after 9 p.m.
After 7 p.m.
Then
We were suggesting
If we
rolling
change
it back
it,
to 7.
But again, yeah, I don't have an issue with that. The only thing I was thinking is construction workers shouldn't have to stop if they're I was not thinking. As long as they're inside and they're not doing any, they're just moving cabinets or doing whatever. You're not saying construction must stop.
Right.
Noise construction. So I'm fine with it. 7 or 9 or whatever you guys want to do.
5 p.m.
Are we keeping it 7 to 9 or 7 to 7?
7 to 7.
7 to 7. 7. Okay, and then of course, any operations that the village wants to do, we can exempt ourselves because, haha.
Mm-hmm.
Loading, unloading of any uncommercial waste receptacles between the hours of 7 a.m. and 9 p.m. within 500. Okay, so that's saying the trash man's exempt from 7 to 9. Do we want to give?
7:30.
Okay, so
7:30, right? Because our
Okay.
contract says 7:30. Don't give them an inch.
I'm not going to give them an inch. That's why we do these things.
But
7:30.
this is for just for commercial. That sentence is just for commercial waste, not
Hold on.
residential waste.
That's true. That would be out on Cleveland 161.
Oh,
Okay.
That's those
of
big dumpster
commercial
guys.
waste receptacles between the hours of within 500 foot of any. Oh, yeah, then keep it 7.
Yeah.
Wait, between the hours of.
Okay, so then we're going to keep it 7.
Yeah, because your contractor will obviously handle your residential side.
Right.
Okay, so keep that 7 to 9.
I don't know. See, it's probably fine.
Keep the same. Noise of safety signals, warning devices, emergency pressure relief valves, and church bells. I think we're probably okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
No,
There's
I don't like the church bells. I don't think we have to worry about it around here, but I guess
Church
we're
bells
fine. But
shouldn't
I
be
don't like the
exempted for
church bell
noise.
thing because up in the Cleveland area, there's so many churches that, and they ring 24 hours, like, it's not good.
Same.
So,
The hours and
I'm
what.
sure if you tried to tell any church to quiet their bell, they'd find themselves a First Amendment lawyer to shove that right back where your sun don't shine.
yeah, no, most of them
Want to just
do.
carve this out since we really only have one church and I don't think they have a steeple.
And it wouldn't bother anybody. The only person it would bother would be me and my little close neighbors, and I'm sure none of us would care. So,
Okay, so I'm going to carve that out. All right. This one out. Noise reduction from
Wait, not the whole thing. Just hold on, Mark. You're not cutting the whole thing out. Just the church bells.
This one out. Just the church bells.
Yeah,
Thank you.
because we don't need people complaining about the noon whistle for the safety tornado.
I think we're all okay with keeping
Comes in the
all
next one.
emergency vehicles.
Right.
Yeah.
Lawnmower and landscaping equipment between 7 and 9. Is 7 and 9 okay, or do we want to change that to 8 or whatever?
The summer, that
personally
typically
think it's
daylight hours is
better.
9 p.m. I would leave
Yeah.
that.
mm-mm.
That was my thought too. And this one, I think we can probably, I mean, the last work is authorized by the city. And then and discharge of blank ammunition when conducted in conjunction with a funeral, patriotic event, or other such activity as specifically authorized by the city manager and the city manager. I think we can probably just get rid of that. I don't think we're going to have too many gun salutes.
You're not expecting any 21 gun salutes for next year's Veterans Day?
I
or
would leave that one in there, quite frankly. You just don't know. And you have a funeral home within the limits. You just don't know if you're okay with that.
I mean, I'm okay with
feel
it
like-
because I don't think it's gonna happen, but I mean,
I feel like it did just recently, just so you guys know.
oh,
Am I crazy about that? But no, I really feel like I heard that that happened just really not too long ago, like within the last 2 or 3 months. I'd
I'm
leave it.
out.
Yeah, and it specifically deals with authorization by us, so that's
Right.
always your catch-all there.
Right. So if
Yeah,
you
that's-
want to do it, we have to approve it. We got to know you're smart people and know that you are in fact loading blanks and, you
Yeah.
know,
Okay, so nighttime. And nighttime is from 10 o'clock until 7 o'clock.
mhm.
And between 9 and 7 on school nights, I'm just gonna say.
And I'm gonna say I don't agree with it. I think it should be 11 p.m. on weeknights or weekends. I'm fine with 9 on school nights, but I feel like it should be 11. And I'm not even a late bird, but 10 o'clock is pretty early for a
Party.
weekend if you're doing something. But that's I don't get to make the decision. Go for it.
All right.
I would-
mean,
I would
Yeah.
agree with Mark's comment though at the bottom. I don't know that necessarily know. Westerville did this specifically because of their Polaris experience.
Mhm.
And I would point out that you've got ending times in the upper notes here about 9 p.m., right? So I would simply say that, look, they did it for a specific definitional need. I don't know that you need that here, right? Especially if you're not matching up with what you've got above, which tends to end at 9 p.m. So either that's daytime hours 7 to 9 or it's not, right? I mean, that's my only point here. Unless you've got something that refers to it, I don't know that you need it.
I think the only thing that I'm questioning is I get the first part. I totally do. But then you're basically saying it's up to the officer. And if you have more that the officer can go by, if we have a 30, let's just, COVID's over, let's just assume, at some point in our lifetime, you've got, 30 car parties at somebody's house and they're running around playing and, acting all crazy and doing, but it's not noisy constantly. I mean, at least the officer, I feel like, can go break it up a little bit if they're a little out of control at 11 o'clock at night.
You can if you have something that refers directly to that.
No, I'm
right?
saying if they're
And-
being noisy, but not, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like you have residents that are kind of asking for something more at night for parties, and that's all I don't know that this is really gonna curve that. I'm not saying I agree or disagree, but I feel like the reason for this is the basketball court ends at dusk, so that's fine. I mean, really, we don't need this for that. Just more of like, if we're gonna put something additional in there for the basketball court with foul language or anything like that, or noise, I don't know that we're gonna do anything with that in here, but I just feel like residents have been asking for a noise ordinance for the parties at night. And I don't know that
I understand, Mayor.
just leaving it to the officer is a fair thing to do to them.
What I'm saying is, and Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't, was this to be the ordinance or was there something more this is getting added to? Because I was a little confused by, these are notes and questions. If this
I
is to be the
believe-
ordinance,
Like it is in the ones that you shared with me, we were gonna shoehorn this into the disorderly conduct.
okay,
ordinance.
okay. So in that particular case, what I would simply say is that, yes, according to the mayor, you would define a nighttime under certain hours and say, you would either have a more stringent requirement under those hours, nighttime hours, and say you cannot, exceed it by, whether it's 25 feet or whatever that is, and versus the daytime hours where a lot of these are allowed. Right now, as it stands, you're just putting a definition, but you have to link it back to some enforcement criteria is all I'm saying.
Well, and I would be, I don't know how this, and Diane's gonna go crazy on this one because it's gonna be vague. To say infrequent
Ooh.
social gatherings are allowed under the, and I don't like the word infrequent, but I don't want them to think I can open a club in my backyard and have it every weekend. But do you guys see where I'm going with that?
So
I'm
people
just saying, like, look, guys, close your party down by 11,
So,
9 o'clock if it's a school night.
So Mark, so to be careful here on the First Amendment and gathering issues. So people can have a gathering anytime they want, What we're
True.
talking about is specifically noise issues. So if you're defining it nighttime wise from 11 to say 7 a.m., okay, what I would simply recommend in this case is it's the noise level that must be shoehorned, right, in some form. So that's my definition. That's fine. You can leave a definition in there, but is it to be, I'm assuming it's to be a stricter enforcement between those hours. So that's where we have to kind of merge the two and whatever disturbing the peace ordinance that we're going to kind of put together here.
Well, we
Not
could,
gatherings.
I haven't, hadn't thought about it that way, but yes, in terms of, specifically addressing outdoor activities after, whether it's 9, 10, or 11 PM, is maybe we could say, outdoor activities that are typically noisy, such as fireworks, live band. Those are the two I could think of. Need to be finished by 11 PM on the weekends, or 9 PM during the weekdays.
If they're not impacting anyone, then the gathering is perfectly legal. It's where we.
I'm not saying they can't gather. I'm just saying that they need to, if they're gonna do fireworks, which pisses people off, if they're gonna do fireworks or have a live band, both of which carry through the entire neighborhood, that they need to wrap it up, just that part up, not their party, just
All
those
got
two
electrical
specific
instruments and
activities
Everybody's
by
got a
11
headset
PM.
on, right? So it's a
Right.
noise issue. You have to
Yes,
define
it's a
it.
noise issue, absolutely.
Right. I think what Eric's trying to say is you can't say that a band is too loud, because what if my band is a 4-piece string quartet playing, Pachelbel's Canon in D? I don't think anybody, that's
Oh, you
not
never
going to
know.
that's not going to carry in the same way as
It is.
the Smithereens, the latest Ramones cover band, right?
Well,
They are going to
I have
be
to say that
amplified
that is
differently.
not true where in my part of the neighborhood, because when the ladies across the street play Frank Sinatra by the pool, they're not playing it really loud and I hear it perfectly clearly. So, it's,
Yeah, I hear you. I think that what we haven't really gotten to is that we have to map back a differentiation between day and night, right? The only reason to define day or night is to differentiate, right? And I think that the place to do that is in that second bullet, the emission of sound in such a manner as to be plainly audible at a distance of, and we should have a day distance and we should have a night distance. And that's where that is, and then it doesn't matter what the activity is, right? I can remember plainly just me and 3 drunken friends standing on my porch my senior year of college, and we were loud enough that we got the cops called on us, right? It was just 4 people having a conversation, right? But I'm sure we were loud because we were all loud people, right? But at that same house, we had plenty of raging parties with 200 people, but everybody stayed inside and the DJs were in the basement and never got the cops called on us, even at 3 a.m. Why? Because the sound didn't travel the same because everybody stayed inside. So I would think that if we wanted to continue to define day and nighttime, we do it with a distance and we differentiate a day distance and a night distance. And if I'm advocating, I would say a 75-foot day distance and a 50-foot night distance. But that's just me.
I just think, I think, if you're talking about, I would agree with that if you were doing like after 11 PM or whatever. I'm not going to disagree with that.
I'd still lean towards 10 because I'm an old fogey now and don't have the kind of parties that people get at that quite that rowdy. I mean, I still have gatherings, but
I have teens, so 11 would be like the norm. So
Yeah,
I understand that.
I'm still younger than Brian. I could go 11.
and I'm
Well, you're
thinking
not.
more along the summer when it doesn't get dark until 9:30, much later too. I mean, like right now, I just don't see anybody having some blaring crazy party out in the middle of, until 10 or 11 o'clock. I mean, I think I'm more thinking about the June, July, and August when you have
Right.
4th of July and stuff like that. 11 o'clock. I think 11 o'clock is reasonable on the 4th of July.
Well, weren't people just Facebooking about a party this past week that had fireworks and was very loud and happy? Denalia, is that
That
one?
actually wasn't
Why?
in the village. That was on the
Yeah.
other side.
That was on the other side. That was Diwali. That was actually a religious celebration.
Uh-huh.
And it was in the Northland Plaza parking lot, if
Yeah.
I understood correctly.
Yes. I
Okay.
just think.
I don't think we should make assumptions about what time of year people like to party. Although, yes, you're right, more people are outside in the summertime.
Yeah, I mean, my son's birthday is in October, so I mean, anytime that we've ever done anything, it's been in October. So I mean, but we would be inside again between 10 and 11. We wouldn't be doing anything crazy.
I think we're stuck again.
I think you guys,
I like the fact that weekday and weekend is defined in terms of the hours. That it's, I think that's a good thing to have in there, just to say Monday through Friday and the time.
Sure.
Someone will get technical on you, and that
Well,
it's just nice to have
David-
those definitions in there. I think that's good.
David McNamara will gladly tell you that his weekend isn't Monday through Friday, right? His
Right.
weekend is
Right.
something very different.
Yep.
Um, okay, I see what they're saying for weekend. Yeah. Yeah, no, I kind of like that as well. And I guess the point behind that is saying there are different standards for weeknights than weekends, right?
Right.
Mhm.
Mhm. Or there could be, yeah.
Although I think sort of the thing up here about, okay, well, this is just to define weekend because they
Right,
use,
what it is,
yeah,
what that means,
okay.
yeah, yeah.
That's why they need to put it in there.
right.
Okay, the first thing I'll say is anything that people saw in here, I don't think there was anything in here that people really didn't like except for the church bells, because Tiffany doesn't like those. No, wait, Diane
No,
doesn't like.
Diane doesn't like church bells.
And yes, I intentionally misrepresented that for the cheap laugh, in case anyone ever watches this. Anything that it wasn't listed in this that needs to be in here.
Think so.
What section, do you want this merged within our disturbing of the peace one that currently exists, or as an addition to the Dublin? How would you like to kind of make it all go together there, Mark?
I was thinking merge this with our disturbing of the peace.
Okay.
As you could probably tell which ones a lot of these I pulled from Westerville, but I think I have some Pickerington in here too, maybe.
Okay.
Or maybe it's Dublin. I don't know. I looked at least 2 or 3 of the ones you sent and said, oh, that looks like a good one, and pulled it out and pasted it and said, oh, that looks like, that's why some of them are even numbered already, obviously, because I said, all these exceptions look pretty good. Let's toss them up.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that is just going on to our existing disturbing the peace ordinance.
Okay. If you send me that doc, then I'll work with Jesse and we'll merge it together. He's got a review. One thing about noise ordinances, based on case laws, they can get a little tricky based on what you write. You know, if you're too specific, they start talking noise meters and things like that, like Westerville did. So it just depends. So send it to me and we'll put it together and bring you back a recommendation again.
All right. That was going to be my next ask is I've taken notes and came up with some stuff who puts it in the gobbledygook language and makes it look nice. And apparently it is you.
It is me.
Man, if I would have shared this as a Google Doc, you just would have already had all the revisions.
I'm getting a little oldie fogey myself.
Oh, technology. I think you can do that with the online office too, right? If you have Office 365.
Yeah,
Wait, you know what? There's also a share button here.
yeah, there's a whiteboard, the feature, but it's
Yeah, and it's
it
like,
costs more. It costs more.
Yeah.
yeah, that's just sharing it to the cloud, and I don't know. I don't want to worry about that. I'll email you a new one. I'll
Okay,
do it.
cool.
All right. We're still only at 6:30, so I am gonna real quick bring up, where is that? Becky's. Is this the revised one, though? 12:32 PM. I'm gonna assume this is the good one. Anything, and a lot of this is on you, Tiffany, because I think you said something about something in an email earlier today. I know we're doing rules of council, second reading. That's no biggie.
Yeah.
Annual appropriations, second reading. Is that got anything going with it, or is that just a second reading?
That's just the second reading, same. The supplemental number ordinance 18-2020 supplemental appropriations. I've not actually looked at it, but I can tell you once it's down there, that is all CARES Act. That's all it is. Today is our deadline to get the money appropriated
Okay,
in order to be able to spend it. If not, we have to give it back.
okay,
Simple as that. So if we don't appropriate it and figure out, basically we're appropriating it with, I don't have anywhere that we're spending it specifically yet. I know you guys have heard 15 different options of
Mhm.
thoughts that I have. But that's what that is.
And then if push comes to shove and we don't come up with any options,
It
they're
goes
gonna ask us what we spend it on, and we're gonna say, sorry, here you go, have it back, right?
Correct. One of the thoughts that you guys are aware of is trying to get some carpet and stuff down in the EMS area. Again, we don't know if they're going to cover it. They said, they're basically saying no major renovations. We don't believe that that's a major renovation. We would be documenting it by pictures. If you guys haven't been down there, half of there are tiles that are flipped up that are not even sealed down, that are broken, cracked, whatever. So all we're trying to do is something very inexpensive, put a layer over it, and then put some desks in. Being able to let Eric work down there, potentially either moving my office in there or and the chief upstairs, or moving chief down there. Just separating some people, because as you guys aren't aware, Leah and Chief share an office, which is not even a 10 by 10 room. So trying to be able to social distance people. So we believe that we believe that they would allow that. But it's not like we can call a 1-800 number and ask in advance. So we want to do it as responsibly and inexpensively as possible. But I'm basically telling you that if I do it, there's no guarantees. So it's something that before we spend this, I'll talk to you guys about it a little bit more. That's that. So I don't have anything else. And then anything that anybody else comes up with.
I don't have anything else.
So yes, so we would
Nope.
need 5 people to waive the readings. That's that.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we have 5 people. And they're all
Alright.
willing to waive readings.
Well, we're 3,
Fingers
so
crossed.
I know Tony will be there. You 3 are there, so I'm assuming we got 4. So between Joe, I have actually not heard from Joe since he emailed me the last time that said he was ill. And that was for the Saturday work session. And he said he may or may not be there last Monday, and I haven't heard from him since. So I
Yikes.
assume maybe he'll be there tonight. I haven't heard that he's not going to be there. We'll see.
Maybe time for a wellness check.
So yeah,
To not hear from Joe for that long, that's a long time.
and maybe I'm wrong, but I think that's about right. Well, speak of the devil. Hang on. At 6:30, he did send a message, so we're good.
He's alive. Excellent.
So I would expect that he would be there tonight. But that's it. That's the only legislation. So hopefully it'll be short, sweet, and if anybody has any questions, I really don't have much of an update.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, then, sounds like we made some progress. We did some stuff, and I'll see you all in 25 minutes.
Okay.
See you in 25 minutes.
And we're adjourned at 7:35.